line, and we'll see Jeff Berger right away. The Auburn offense, led by Berger, the controversial one, but he's efficient. His running backs are not as good as they've had down here the last 5 years. Where's the fullback? Danley, the freshman tailback. His receivers are spectacular. There are 2 of 4. Keep an eye on Lawyer Tillman. He'll take you to the ball a lot here this afternoon. Berger has completed 67% of his passes this season. And on first down, he fires to Donaldson. And Donaldson fumbles. Florida State recovers. Shelton Thompson knocked the ball free, the outside linebacker.
A very nice opening play, Brent. It was well set up. The play action fake inside. Donaldson picks up a nice block by Searles, number 60, on the defensive back, then cuts it inside. The ball just comes loose there. And Terry Warren, number 80, made the recovery. It's a big play for Florida State early in the ballgame, obviously.
And Dye's coaching staff will be furious about turning the ball over at the 37-yard line. Here's Danny McManus. The crowd will be a factor in calling audibles for the road team. Sammy Smith on the cutback. And the Auburn front 7 goes after him, led by Andre Bruce, number 93. You'll hear me call his number and his name throughout the afternoon. Let's meet that Seminole offense. There's Danny McManus, the senior quarterback. Now behind him, they've switched fullbacks today. Marion Butt steps in as a starter ahead of Sammy Smith. Wide receivers, very talented. Herb Gaynor is the senior. Ronald Lewis, remember him on the end around. He'll wear number 7. He's down to McManus's left on this second down. Smith, the key figure in this game, perhaps. They fake the draw. McManus rolls, hits the big tight end Carter, and he gets to the 25-yard line. 1st and 10 for the Seminoles. Now the rest of the Seminole offense today. A senior at center, Salva. The guards are underclassmen, Kuipers and Brown. Junior tackle Pat Tomberlin is the key here. He's the best in the line. And the young man you just saw catch his first pass, Pat Carter, 85, one of the better tight ends in the land. Now the ball put down at the Auburn 25. If you just joined us, the Tigers fumbled on their first play. They split the backs. They run Smith out of the draw. They usually use that from the I formation. A great call, and Sammy Smith gets down close to the 15-yard line with Bruce chasing him from the rear.
Brent, Sammy Smith is a cool weather runner. They said early in the year in the heat, early this season in Florida, he gets dehydrated. But in the cooler weather, which you find in November, they like to give him the ball an awful lot. A good call by Florida State. It was a passing formation on split backs. They ran the draw play. What
a beautiful block by 72 Tomberlin. Did you see him pave the way? The key man in this offensive line. And in the middle of that defense, was he pulled or did he jump across? And we want to get a Notre Dame update. That's the big one right down. Let's hold up and see about the penalty flag, and then we will check in on Notre Dame. This is a key moment right here. Yes, he came across and made contact. So they will march off the penalty against Auburn. The ball down close to the 10-yard line. 1st and 10 for the Seminoles against Pat Dye, and Dye's defense on its heels here in the early moments of this game.
Nice strategy there by Danny McManus. He knows the defense is very emotional early in the ball game. Went on a long count and drew the nose tackle Goff offsides.
Bobby Bowden with a chance to strike first here in Auburn. Now they line up in the I formation. It's Butts. He gets to the 8-yard line, and Tracy Rocker, number 74, the big tackle for Pat Dye, stands him up after a gain of a couple of yards.
Very difficult to run inside on this Auburn defense. If you're going to have any success, you need to get to the perimeter of the defense or throw the football.
He's only a junior. There are 3 possible first-round draft choices playing for this Auburn defense. Bruce and Rocker are 2. Porter and Dye's secondary is a 3rd. Smith trying to find a hole, cuts back and slashes his way to the 2-yard line. Rocker giving chase. Now that defense, Roland, the nose man, the tackles along with Rocker, the senior Nate Hill. Then the inside linebackers, both seniors and they're tough ones, Phillips and Crane. On the outside, Bruce, the senior, he's the first-round draft choice, and Alvin Mitchell. 3rd, and remember they can get a first down without scoring, but they'd have to be inside the 1-yard line, and a timeout is going to be called by Florida State. Florida State will use its first timeout here on a key play.
And Danny McManus on 3rd and very short, wanted to get it straight, so he's going to go to talk it over with Bobby Bowden.
37 after the fumble by Auburn. Florida State has moved down, used one of its 3 first-half timeouts. This is a 3rd and a couple for a touchdown and about 1.5 for a first down. Now they have inserted their powerful fullback, number 49, Dane Williams, and he has scored 11 rushing touchdowns. He's set in front of Sammy Smith. Williams in for the touchdown.
And Brent, that's an important touchdown to take a home crowd out of it early. Hostile environment here at Auburn, but Florida State scores early, and that goes a long way into taking the crowd out. Big block by Tomberlin again there, number 72.
And Derek Schmidt to kick the extra point. 9 more points, and he becomes the all-time leading scorer in the history of college football. And the countdown goes to 8 for Schmidt. Florida State takes advantage of a turnover, and it's 7-0 Seminoles.
Dane Williams has that ability just to find a crack inside. That's why they insert him on short yardage situations. A great surge by the offensive line. Kuipers and Tomberlin on the left side opened that little crease for Williams to find the end zone. 92 right here. He is the backup tight end. Tom O'Malley gets a nice block as well. And you're going to see the fullback on the surge, and the defensive line, it gets blown back into the end zone. That is O'Malley, number 92, making a nice block, and Tomberlin. It's amazing to me, Brent, how some fullbacks like Dane Williams have that unique ability to find that little seam in the defense.
So often this year, we have seen turnovers set up touchdowns, and that was the case here. Auburn fumbled on first down, and the Seminoles took advantage of it. Richie Andrews with the ball on the tee for his second kickoff of the afternoon. We have 11:20 to go in the opening quarter, and Florida State leads Auburn 7-0. Now as we set up here for the kickoff, it'll be Mose at the 5. He brings it back. Stood up at the 20-yard line. We get an opportunity here, and let's break away for a special report by CBS News.
The president's blessing, and it told him that he ought to withdraw his name. Yards out, Notre Dame leads and has the football with 3 minutes to go. In our game, it's Florida State over Auburn. 7-0 first quarter. We'll rejoin Brent and Pat in just a moment.
By the Auburn Tigers. They were forced to punt. Then it was first down, and watch here. Sammy Smith in retreat, and linebacker Quentin Riggins, number 41 out of Montgomery, will finally track him for a 20-yard loss. Now, Florida State is forced to punt it away, and Auburn will have a field position Their best of the afternoon so far at the 38. Pat Hayden, that's a 51-yard punt by Tootin, ripped beautifully. But let's recap for the folks now what they missed in a couple of series.
Well, the defense in Auburn really bowed its necks, and it's just what they needed at this point in the game, because the defense forced Sammy Smith to come into a big negative play, a minus 20 on the play, resulted in the punt, and then very good field position now for the offense.
Now Florida State leads it 7-0. They scored on their first possession after a turnover. This is 1st and down with 7:12 to go for Auburn. Ware flares from the fullback position, and he is tackled at the 39-yard line. What a great comeback by the Fighting Irish. Meanwhile, Oklahoma finding some resistance, but perhaps that's what they need prior to the showdown with Nebraska, is a good game under their belt. Unbeaten Syracuse continuing to roll along against the Navy team, which is toughening up. Tim Brown with 290 total yards, and we would expect to see him next Saturday against Alabama if that score holds. Now on 2nd and 10, Jeff Berger to put it up. Great coverage, not a good runner. His wide receivers were covered, and Eric Hayes slams him down. There is a penalty flag on the ground at the 35-yard line.
Because Jeff Berger gets rid of the ball so quickly, it's hard to rush him. So Florida State's defense has made the decision to drop back and play coverage. That time, very good coverage. Berger had no one open.
So welcome back now to Auburn, Alabama, along with John Dockery and Pat Hayden. I'm Brent Musburger.
Personal foul against the offense.
So the personal foul going against Auburn. We have two teams ranked in the top 10, both of them with dreams of a national championship. Florida State's only blemish, that loss to Miami. Auburn has been tied by Tennessee. The loser would seem to be out in that chase for a national title. Now, through the years, Bobby Bowden's teams have been very dangerous on the road. Those of you down in Tallahassee know the story full well. The quality teams would not come in there to play Bowden's team, so he took the show on the road. He went to places like Nebraska and picked them off. But this is not one of those sites. He's had a lot of trouble through the years. 3rd and long. Berger drops it off complete, but they will have to punt it away. Stan Shiver, the strong safety, coming up hard on Duke Donaldson, who fumbled on the first offensive play of the game.
And if you're going to see any pressure on Jeff Berger, it'll come out of the nickel defense, which they had right there.
That's the blocking back for him. Porter checking with the offensive line. Schulman gets the punt off. Sanders, one of the best in the business, fields it at the 32. And he's cut off beautifully. Auburn gets downfield quickly. Perry Reed, number 23, brings him down after a 3-yard return. Great coverage. 21 yards in 3 plays. And I asked him, what about this Auburn defense?
Auburn defense is very aggressive. They're a type of team that if there's a pass coming across the middle, their defense back's going to let you know, well, you walked into our territory. Next time you come here, I want you second guessing. And if you try to run, the linebackers and defensive line do the same thing to you. And then, of course, you got Andre and you got Tracy Rocker on the outside who's going to be coming after me. If they get a shot on me, they're going to let me know where I'm standing, too. So it's going to be a defense that we probably haven't seen this year as aggressive as they are.
And you can add very deep. They have used 7 linebackers already this afternoon. Dane Williams stays at fullback behind McManus in front of his splendid tailback, Sammy Smith. Carter in motion. He was open, but they looked back the other way to Lewis for a first down. Both receivers were wide open. That's an 18-yard gain. Carter is going to go back to the huddle and say, keep me in motion because I was all alone, too.
But, Brent, the key was the play-action fake to Sammy Smith, and that's what you have to respect when you have a guy like Smith back there. You've got to worry about that. And because they've run Smith on this exact play 2 times earlier in the game, the linebackers step up, and Ronald Lewis catches this ball where actually a linebacker should be. That's not the defensive backs coverage. That's a linebacker coverage there.
Against Florida State, remember, Bowden will make you defend the entire field. McManus off the play fake again. Goes deep down the right sideline. His wide receiver was covered beautifully that time by Kevin Porter. What a great play as Ronald Lewis didn't have any daylight at all.
You know, most defensive backs will look at the receiver the whole way. Kevin Porter had his eyes focused on McManus the whole way here until the ball came down. He sees the ball all the way. Was never fooled by the move by Lewis. That's good defense. He had nice timing so there's no pass interference and knocks it away.
You are looking at a #1 draft choice on the left. Both are seniors. Porter, one of the most solidly built corners you'll ever look at. The two safeties are underclassmen. They will use nickel in a lot of situations against McManus and the Seminoles. We get word that the Fighting Irish come from behind and win. Now McManus, under pressure, drops the screen off to Williams. And Williams gets to the 40-yard line with Brian Smith, one of the 7 linebackers in the game now, finally getting him out of bounds. There's the final score, 32-25. Notre Dame. Boston College led, and you will see the Fighting Irish next Saturday on CBS against Alabama at 2:30 Eastern Time. Bama and Coach Curry with a big one tonight in Baton Rouge against LSU. Latest word on Tommy Hudson is he will play but will not start for Coach Archer and the Tigers.
Big third down for the Seminoles to keep this drive alive.
They've moved Carter outside. In effect, he's an extra wide man through to Smith. He wasn't quite turned around when they had to release the ball because Tracy Rocker, the All-American defensive tackle, was coming up the middle.
Top of the screen, number 74, Tracy Rocker. The best pass defense is a rush. He beats quickly John Brown, number 50. Tracy Rocker did a little swim technique over his head. McManus threw it way before he wanted to. That's amazing on a 5-step drop.
There is Rocker. He is also on the punt team. Rick Tootin's second punt coming up, and they run the fake. Get the first down. Dane Williams, the short man. Bobby Bowden with everything in the game plan for this afternoon.
No, Brent, every team has trick plays. The difference with Florida State is they're not afraid to call them. Bobby Bowden has called these kinds of plays. Right in the middle of your screen, number 49 is Dane Williams. The snap goes directly to him. They had scouted this during the week, picked up a nice block, and got the first down yardage.
Now the ball inside the 35-yard line. Florida State leading Auburn 7-0. Incomplete, overthrew the fullback Williams. Well, Dane Williams did not start here this afternoon, but already he has scored a touchdown and picked up a first down on a 4th down gamble.
Well, I don't know about you, but I love to watch Bobby Bowden's teams. They are so entertaining. Now, you know, over in the press box next to us, Brett, is the Florida State coaching staff, and Mark Richt is there. He's the quarterback coach, but his only job during the course of the game is to look for all the trick plays. He sends it down to Bowden, and Bowden calls the fake punt there.
Butts returns at fullback, 2nd and 10. The fake to Smith, the throw over to middle, and Carter, the tight end, is inside the 20-yard line for a first down. Eddie Phillips back on the stop, a 15-yard gain. The tight end is killing it.
The second catch of the day, and when you have a big tight end target over the middle, it just makes things so much easier. The middle linebacker really doesn't have a chance. He's going to drop back, and the tight end here is going to find a hole behind him and make the play. But when you have a big target, he is 6'5", and he is always able to find a little dead spot in the middle of the field. Well led there by McManus.
They're getting Carter open by splitting him out away from the tackle. This time they're lining up tight, and they come back with Butts, the fullback. There's a penalty flag down, however, thrown by the linesman on the far side of the field. Dye's strategy today was to hold Carter up at the line of scrimmage, but Florida State has countered that. They have shifted Carter out about 2 or 3 yards away from the tackle, and it makes it impossible for the outside linebacker to get the kind of leverage he needs to hold him in there. And Carter is running free. They're putting him in motion and doing all sorts of things with him technically here to make sure that he is in the passing game. The penalty marched off against Auburn. Pat Dye has to be unhappy with how things are going. Bobby Bowden, of course, has to be elated. But what you're seeing down here is an Auburn team that played emotionally last Saturday night and is having difficulty getting back up for Florida State here this afternoon. Now it is 1st and 5 for the Seminoles. They'll run the big fella Smith. He is caught by Rocker. Isn't Rocker a good-looking tackle? Come from behind and pull down a quality back like Sammy Smith.
You're better off putting a tight end to Tracy Rocker's side, because when he's on the open side, he can come right down the line of the scrimmage there and make the play. Top of the screen, the tight end is away from him. He's going to chase from behind. He's got the kind of speed to be able to do that. But if you put the tight end on his side, he can't do that. Very quick off the ball.
Andre Bruce ran himself out of the play. Those of you who were watching him on the right side, he charged in, and he went right on past Smith. It's 2nd down and the long 2. Off a fake, McManus rolling, Rocker chasing, throwback incomplete. They cannot handle Rocker in the middle of that defense. That's something that will have to concern Florida State.
And that's one of the reasons you're seeing Danny McManus sprint out, Brent, to get away from Rocker and Andre Bruce. It's a play they put in this week, especially for the rush of Auburn. Florida State is obviously thinking touchdown here. A 3rd and about 2, an important down again.
Williams is in at fullback. He's over on the right wing. Carter is strong to that side. They run Smith, and he gets inside the 5 for a 1st down. Some beautiful play calling here against Dye's defense.
Very nice patience there by Sammy Smith. You see the way he set up his blockers? Watch how patient he is here on the draw. It's clogged up early, but he waits for some things to happen, and then he makes the play and the run for the 1st down. Tomberlin, again, number 72, makes a nice block.
Now, Smith has averaged 7.6 yards a carry. He had a big loss early on in this quarter, which has held down his average. McManus has to throw quickly. Lewis is out of bounds. Lewis was all alone, and he overled him. The wide receiver, check that, was Gaynor working on that far side, number 3 and not 7 Lewis that time, and he had gone too far. He had him. Take a look at this. He is right there.
But you don't see the front part of the play, and the reason that was not successful, Brent, was because the pressure by Alvin Mitchell. It was a naked bootleg. They didn't fool Mitchell on the outside, although Ronald Lewis was wide open. On the other side, it was Gaynor was wide open.
Dexter Carter replaces Sammy Smith. Smith will take a breather. Quick pop, touchdown, Florida State. This time they come right back to Herb Gaynor, his 5th touchdown of the year.
That call, Brent, because the play earlier, remember, Gaynor had run outside, on the outside right. That time they line him up. He is 6'3", and he runs a slant pattern for the touchdown. Good play selection there by Florida State. An impressive drive. Really mixed it up.
Derek Schmidt with McManus holding. It's perfect. It's a 2-touchdown lead by Florida State already.
Brent, remember earlier, Gaynor ran the corner route. This time, he's going to fake the corner, come right inside in a quick post. It's a 3-step drop. Good protection by the line. McManus drills it in between the 2 defenders. Gaynor is 6'3". He's allowed to make that catch easily. Good protection up front. They got all the defensive linemen's hands down, which allowed McManus to get the ball to Gaynor.
Sarasota, Florida, or the west coast of that state, which turns out about as many quality wide receivers and running backs as any state in the land. The top 3 for producing Division 1A players are Texas, California, and the state of Florida. And right now, Florida State with a 2-touchdown lead on Auburn.
The only thing you can say about this Auburn team, a year or 2 ago, this Auburn team was not the type that could have come back in this kind of game. This year, with the passing offense they have and Jeff Berger, they can. But this is an important drive for them, Brent.
Freshman Harry Mose is in the middle. You get his chance. 25-yard line. It'll be 1st and 10 for Berger. Well, let me remind everybody, we'll start our NFL coverage tomorrow at 12:30. Jeff Berger, number 12, in behind center. It's all uphill now. They run Ware right straight ahead. Fumble. Florida State pounces on it at the 22-yard line. Terry Warren, number 80, goes in for the recovery.
And that's his second recovery. He recovered the first fumble, too. Terry Warren, he is quite a story, Brent. Sang the national anthem before last week's game in the homecoming game. The guy is obviously very, very talented. Pretty good football player as well. Good penetration, a big hit on 36 Ware. The helmet gets in the way. It pops loose. It was Eric Hayes, number 78, who popped it loose, and Warren who made the recovery.
Florida State shocking Auburn here in the early going. Sammy Smith returns, but they run Williams, the fullback, and he cannot get away from Brian Smith, the outside linebacker, who has replaced Alvin Mitchell in the Auburn defense. Number 90, the junior.
Well, that is definitely the story right now. The two turnovers, both of them down inside the scoring territory. And Florida State has been one of those types of teams that's been very opportunistic all season long.
Gainer and Lewis both go to the right side. Lewis is in the slot. This is Sammy Smith coming to the short side. Getting down to the 20-yard line. Tracy Rocker tackles him, and we go downstairs to John Dockery. Doc?
Brent, the feeling down here is that Denny... It's not that tough, I don't think.
Third down. You say that up here, but not down there. Al McManus fakes Smith. Comes to the middle. Out of bounds. Out of bounds. Ronald Lewis, the flanker, the intended receiver that time, and Alvin Briggs, the senior cornerback, with the coverage. The end of the first quarter. Florida State leads Auburn 14-0. College football on CBS returns after this message and a word for your local stations. Turned a turnover into a touchdown, then a fake punt on fourth down led to a second score, a second turnover now, and they will attempt a field goal. In the end zone a moment ago, an opportunity to show the fans the difference between a college rule and an NFL rule.
In pro football, you must come down with the foot in bounds. Even if the defensive back pushes you out of bounds like that, you still must come down.
In college football.
In college football, exactly right.
You can be carried out in the NFL, and it will still count, but not so in the college game. Remember that. All right, now Derek Schmidt with 2 extra points, need 9 points, and he's the all-time scoring leader. This will be a 37-yarder. Who knows? The way Bowden coaches, they may even fake it with a 2-touchdown lead, but it's a long way to go for a first down. Schmidt's on target. On the money. 17-0. Florida State leading Pat Dye and the Auburn Tigers. In terms of possession on that clock, Pat, in the first quarter, 11:25 for Florida State and 3:35 for the Auburn Tigers. Now let's get an update and check in with Jim Nance in New York. Jim?
Well, Brent, Illinois down 8 in the fourth quarter to Indiana. Watch the man in motion out of the backfield. Keith Jones will hook up here with quarterback Scott Moore. The play covers 38 yards, but the Illini failed on the 2-point conversion to tie it. 7 minutes left in Bloomington. Indiana is now driving. Let's go back to Brent.
All right, thank you, Jim. Illinois playing much better the last 3 weeks in the Big Ten. I think they've won a couple and also tied one. And what about this game that we've got here, Pat?
Well, this is a very important part of the game for Jeff Berger, the senior quarterback, to exert his leadership. Again, he has had a great accuracy this entire year, but he hasn't been in the game enough so far today. This is because of the turnovers.
Now, there was the fumble. That was the first offensive play of the game after a completed pass. And then we've had the second fumble, and that led to the field goal. And the fake punt set up the second score by Florida State. The Seminoles have jumped all over Auburn. Andrews whacks it again left-footed, and here's Mose, the freshman. Goes back inside the end zone before he comes out, and he'll be short of the 20-yard line. This will not be good field position for Jeff Berger. Now, when the defense knows that you're trailing by 17 and you're a passing team anyway, Pat, I would think that it would be much easier for the rushmen, and also in the secondary they can drop back.
Well, you'll probably see a lot more nickel defense from the Seminoles on this series, because it's exactly right. Auburn has not run the ball effectively all season long, and they are very much a passing team.
Lawyer Tillman has been quiet so far. He comes over to Berger's left. He's number 85. Donaldson, 29, stepping in motion there. Throws to Ware, the fullback, who coughed up that second one on a fumble. He gets out to the 24-yard line. So they come right back to Reggie Ware.
Again, with a 17-point lead defense, the defensive backs can afford to give up lots of ground. You can see nice deep coverage. They're not going to get beat with a cheap touchdown, an easy touchdown. They play a zone defense here, which is what you want to do against Auburn, because they can flood zones. They pick up Ware there after the short gain.
Berger is 5 of 5 for 29 yards so far this afternoon. Freshman tailback out to the 29-yard line, and Paul McGowan brings Danley down there.
On the left of the screen, you're going to see a good stick by number 38, Paul McGowan, the linebacker. Now watch how he reads. As soon as he sees the guard blocked down, he steps up into the hole. And that's what linebackers have to do. They read the key of the offensive guard in front of them.
3 wide receivers out there. Scott Bolton along with Donaldson and Tillman. They take the tight end out, and Berger with good protection. Tillman can't hold on. 47-yard line. The ball is dropped, and that's a catch he normally makes. It would have been a good one, but he generally pulls that down.
Here's the ball control offense by Florida State. It's really, you don't really call them ball control because they throw the ball so effectively, but they did something with that time of possession, Brent. They scored 2 touchdowns.
Pat, it has been a lack of execution by the Tigers so far.
Well, we heard Eric Parsegian at the top of the day say he was wondering whether Auburn would be emotional today after the emotional win last week.
That's Ware stepping off in motion. Berger getting good protection. Steps up and goes for Tillman long. Great catch. He's down to the 18-yard line. War Eagle, 51 yards to Lawyer Tillman.
And Brent, what I liked about this was Jeff Berger came right back to Tillman after he had dropped the pass. That shows you the confidence. Watch the free safety for Greg Newell. I think he misjudges this pass. Clearly, right there, number 40 is going to make the play. He's in position to make the play. But Tillman uses his height and adjusts to the ball extremely well for the big play. But I like the way Berger came right back to Tillman after the drop pass.
Deion Sanders, their great cornerback, was one of those beaten on that play. His responsibility throughout much of this afternoon is going to be Tillman. And they keep putting it up. Complete again, and that's to right. He's out of bounds at the 6-yard line.
Auburn has developed into a very fine passing team this year, and what they like to do oftentimes is have 3 wide receivers. The first option is the post pattern. We just saw Tillman catch that. And then in the 3 wide receivers, they have an intermediate route, and then underneath the short routes right here, and then as the last option, the 5th option, the fullback will come here. That gives Jeff Berger 5 different options, and remember, folks, that happens within 3 seconds. But that's been the change in the Auburn offense this year.
Used to watch Auburn line up. Bo Jackson right, Bo Jackson left, Bo Jackson up the middle. Brent Fullwood right, Brent Fullwood left, Brent Fullwood up the middle.
I suspect if they were here, they'd still be doing that. But it mentions the point. It's hard to recruit a dominating tailback when you've had Fullwood and Jackson here.
Donaldson stepping in motion at the top of your screen. Berger getting great protection. And Tillman claiming that Sanders held him up on the cut.
Oh, I thought that was pass interference, Brent. I thought that ball was in the air, and Sanders did hold Tillman. Tillman looks inside. Now the ball is in the air now, and he goes up with the left arm. That is clearly pass interference. The official missed that call. There's no doubt about it. That ball was in the air.
Well, it's a mixed crew here. 17-0. Florida State leading Auburn. This the best scoring opportunity for the Tigers. Berger getting time to throw, and he runs out of a throwing situation. A great play call. They bring the freshman Stacy Danley, and he is out of bounds at the 11-yard line. A 14-yard run. Now they had to get inside the 10 for a 1st and 10, so this will be a big call by the Tigers coaching staff.
2nd and 14. Great call. Good block by number 29, Duke Donaldson, the wide receiver who came down and sealed off the inside. That allowed Danley to pick up an extra 6 or 7 yards.
I may have said 4th. This is a 3rd down. So they've got 2 opportunities here. Now Florida State uses a timeout. That's 2 timeouts used by the Seminoles here in the first half. That could be important. Another look at that controversial pass interference call, or was it? There was no flag thrown, but remember the rule. The ball must be catchable. Tillman obviously is held up by Sanders. Now the ball falls far off to the right-hand side. That's why the official ruled it. Now here they run Mose, and he is stopped short of the 1st down. Now 4th and short coming up apparently for Auburn. Now watch the ball here. Forget the fact that Tillman is held up. Was it a catchable ball?
And Brent, I have to disagree with you there. I think Tillman had a chance to make a play on that ball if he isn't held up by Sanders.
If they don't get this 1st down, that will be a pivotal play. I'll tell you where moved too quickly, in my opinion. Let's see why the penalty marker is down.
Well, Paul McGowan made a surge there defensively. Sometimes on a short yardage situation, it's a good strategy to go on a quick count, but not there.
Dead ball. The offense is moving. Still 4th down.
There was no question about it. We're anticipating step ahead of the snap. Now this will be a field goal. They will kick a field goal here with Win Lyle, or at least attempt one. After they march off the 5 yards, they'll set up for the field goal. Now Win Lyle is 10 of 13 kicking field goals. He grew up right here in Auburn. This is a 32-yarder. This would get the Tigers up on the board. They're down 2 touchdowns and a field goal. He rips that one. So the Tigers score with 12 minutes to go in the 1st half. It's Florida State 17, Auburn 3. Gonna be a good one. Sometimes you forget the impact of the collisions down there on the field. Chris Johnson will kick it off here for Auburn. And they send it deep to Keith Ross. Ross works his way beautifully to the 30. Out beyond the 35-yard line. What a superb return that was as he worked his way into the gaps. A 27-yard return.
And Keith Ross, Brent, did most of this on his own. He got a couple of blocks initially early on. There's the wedge. And then he decides to abandon the wedge a little bit and get to the outside. Makes a couple of nice little hip moves there to give his offense very good field position. Special teams under Bobby Bowden have been one of his specialties.
Dexter Carter will be the tailback here. They fake to him. McManus over the middle. Lewis can't hold on. He dropped the ball. He should have had a completed pass there at the 43-yard line. It'll be 2nd and 10 as a result. Now Craig Ogletree continues to work at outside linebacker number 94. So John Dockery will want to check on the status of Andre Bruce. He has missed a couple of series here for the Tigers in the first half. Cannot get the corner turned. What a great hit by Porter. Kevin Porter, the senior cornerback, who undoubtedly will go in the first round of the NFL draft, comes up and makes a punishing hit. Let's check in on what the Seminoles have accomplished so far against this Auburn defense. And remember, the one play you don't see up there is the fake punt, which set up the second touchdown.
Very opportunistic offense.
Taken advantage of 2 turnovers and run a fake punt. And when Auburn challenged, their defense stiffened. McManus hit from behind by you-know-who. Craig Ogletree, working in there in place of Bruce, came from behind and got a lick.
You know, Brent, isn't it interesting? That's one of the reasons Florida State put that play in. It was a dash away from the line of scrimmage to give McManus some time to run away from the rush. See, he fakes the fakes, goes out on the corner of the defense, but from the backside, Ogletree, number 94, makes the play. It's a long way to go for an outside linebacker.
McManus was shaken up on that hit, too. Rick Tootin into punt. Donaldson drops it. And Florida State pounces on the ball inside the 15-yard line. Marty Riggs, number 51, gets downfield after snapping the ball and recovers the fumble. What a great piece of football by number 51.
It's amazing that Briggs came all the way down after snapping the ball. He was the one, number 51, who snapped the ball on the fake punt, too, as well, Brent. It's good coverage. Again, special teams. Special teams play about 25% of the game and should win 2 ball games for you.
Now, I noticed that McManus was limping when he left the field. Let's see how he handles the offense down here with a first down at the 13-yard line. Sammy Smith returns. He's a tailback for the Seminoles. Give to the short man, the fullback, and he is stopped short of the 10-yard line. Let's get down to John Dockery on the field. Doc?
Brent, you were very observant. Danny McManus was limping severely. Remember the last hit he took right on the backside there? Well, he came off the field limping. They were checking his ankle. Florida State got the ball out, so they sent him back out in the field, but he was noticeably hobbled, so I don't know how effective he's going to be running the ball down here.
Brent, when you're leading the 6th-ranked team 17-3, you don't come out of the ballgame unless you're really hurt.
Now they run a little draw with the halfback. That play was very effective the first time they ran it from the split backfield. They give him the look this time, and Edward Phillips makes the stop. And immediately Chip Ferguson starts to loosen up. They have noticed McManus limping on the field from up here in the booth, and they called Bobby downstairs and said, get somebody loose. This is a 3rd down from the 10-yard line. They have to get to the 3 for a first down.
Important down for the Auburn defense. They have to force the field goal attempt.
Carter replaces Smith. They send him out as a receiver, and a bad throw. Picked off by Briggs. Briggs is pushed out of bounds on the far side.
And you know, Bobby Bowden is wondering whether he should have left McManus in. He threw the ball a little bit quickly trying to get the ball to Smith. You can't throw the ball into the flat with a corner rolled up. It was Dexter Carter who was actually trying to throw it to, but you cannot throw that kind of pass into the flat when the corner's right there waiting.
These are 2 fine cornerbacks, Briggs and Porter. Both of them are seniors. And Briggs bails them out that time. The ball is at the 30 now for Jeff Berger. Donaldson coming in motion. He's fumbled it away twice. And he's got it. The Auburn scheme of things, when you fumble, get ready. You're going to get the ball on the next play. And Terry Warren is right there with him.
The interception a play ago at the top of the screen right here is Alvin Briggs. Now he's going to force this receiver inside, but then he stays right in that zone, and McManus doesn't see him. He thinks he's going to run with the wide receiver, throws the ball right to Alvin Briggs. Yeah, this Auburn defensive backfield can really confuse a quarterback. They make it look like they're going to run with a receiver, and he stayed right there in the zone.
Curtis Stewart and a tailback for Auburn. Throw the swing pass to the running back. Short of the first down. A great hit by Paul McGowan. He's the first man, number 38. He's one of the finalists for the Butkus Award this year. He got him first, then David Palmer, the other inside man, brought him down. That opportunistic Tiger defense. Look at the takeaways. And they've set up 42% of their points. They get it back again. But Berger will have to go the hard way to get this one. And here's the key play.
The problem today thus far has been the offense turning the ball over.
Berger calmly steps to the right. Wanted Tillman, and Sanders was there all over him. What a great duel that is between Sanders and Tillman, as McManus having that ankle tended to on the far sideline. Schulman to punt. We get word from John Dockery that they were just resting Bruce. That's the dive philosophy. Use a lot of players early so that you're strong in the fourth quarter. Low line drive. It's returnable. It's Sanders. Battles his way. Comes free. Out to the 41-yard line. He's one of the best in college football. An 18-yard return off a 40-yard punt. We'll be right back. Florida State 17, Auburn 3. For a few moments, Chip Ferguson was in the huddle. Then Danny McManus came off the bench, and he remains as the Florida State quarterback. But he has completed only 2 of his last 10 passes, limping ever so slightly on that ankle. Sammy Smith returns at tailback. Marion Butts is the fullback. Smith cut off. No daylight. And again, that front 7 so tough for Auburn. Nate Hill, 99, was there.
Brent, Florida State has great field position because the way this punt was set up. They have 10 men in the line of scrimmage. Now, you're always worried about them blocking a punt, but when they don't go for the punt block, watch how they hold up the Auburn team. You're not going to see any blue jerseys down there covering on Deion Sanders. He's got free reign in the middle of the field there and returned it about 15 or 16 yards. Very good special teams by the Seminoles.
Sammy Smith, who was averaging 7.6 yards a carry, is being held to less than 1 yard a rush. Not this time. He bolts free. Gets close to midfield. He has to get to the 49 for a first down. He'll be short of that.
And Sammy Smith comes up a little shaken. He's the type of running back, Bobby Bowden was telling me, that doesn't play real well when he's nicked. He got up slowly on that play. But when he's healthy, he is sensational.
Auburn's defense a little bit unsettled. Most of the team looking over at the sideline between plays. Now Florida State will use its final timeout here in the first half. Now Auburn will still have all of its 3 timeouts. McManus in obvious pain as he limps over there, and Oklahoma State and doing some kind of a job here on Oklahoma this afternoon. Barry Switzer obviously wants to win, but he also wanted a tough game to get ready for Nebraska in a couple of weeks when that shootout comes. Syracuse staying unbeaten this afternoon. Don McPherson gunning for All-American quarterback. There's the annual war won by Georgia. Michigan State still hoping for a Rose Bowl. Penn State on the comeback trail with a game against Notre Dame in a couple of weeks. Indiana pulls it out over Illinois, so it'll be Indiana and Michigan State battling it out in the Big Ten. And at the conclusion of this game, we'll select a Chevrolet Most Valuable Player of the game, and Chevrolet will donate a
Work situations.
They split the tight end, Carter, off into a wing on the left side. Now they bring him underneath. Off a fake. They look back for him, and he's got the first down. Good call, Pat. Let's go down and check on Andre Bruce from John Dockery. John?
Brent, a very interesting situation. You mentioned that Andre Bruce was not hurt physically. Well, he wasn't. He was sitting on the bench as though he were moping. I think he's hurt psychologically and emotionally. He did not have a good first period. They sat him down, not so much to rest him, to allow him to gather himself. One of the coaches went over to ask him how he was feeling. He didn't say anything, but then he jumped up and went to the sidelines to watch it. So they're having problems on defense. Bruce is having his problems.
What a game he had against Florida, but he has not backed it up here against Florida State. Now with the first down inside the 40, there's a great defensive play by Kurt Crane. Number 39, the senior linebacker from Birmingham.
Kurt Crane is one of those linebackers who spends 2 or 3 hours a day studying film, trying to read a key. He saw the offensive guard in front of him step down, and he was right into the hole. Very good read by Crane. Looks for tendencies on offense and found one there. Well, Bruce perhaps has gathered himself. He has gone back into the lineup. He almost single-handedly destroyed Georgia Tech in a game earlier this year. Here comes that end around, and it is Lewis. He's their most dangerous runner in this situation. He's got a first down. He gets inside the 25-yard line. Andre Bruce has to go back and pull him down. It's a 19-yard run by Ronald Lewis. Andre Bruce came right back into the game, and this is a terrific call when an aggressive defensive end comes back in after sitting out. He came inside. He's got outside containment, and Ronald Lewis went right where he was supposed to be. Alvin Briggs there, the corner, didn't make the play either. Bruce does a nice job, though, of turning around and chasing him back from behind. First and 10 for Florida State at the 26-yard line. Sammy Smith can't get away from the first man, and it's Bruce. Bruce coming up with Kurt Crane. Well, we have seen Danny McManus go to his tight end, Pat Carter, 3 times here in the first half. And I think tight end position is one of the most interesting in football because you're the half blocker, the half receiver. Carter does it as well as anybody in college football. And boy, he can make your strong side running game go, and he's a very effective receiver over the middle. 13 carries, 5 of them for minus yards. McManus going to throw it, and it's deflected. Deflected by Nate Hill, number 99, who has shown a couple of key plays here in the first half defensively, too. I want to tell you what, Danny McManus is lucky that ball got deflected because Alvin Briggs was going to make an interception again. It was the same play that Briggs picked off earlier, and if that ball wasn't tipped, that one was picked off. John Wiley comes into the secondary. They will have an additional defensive back. This is 3rd and long, an obvious throwing situation. Dexter Carter, 13, checks in. He likes to slip out of the backfield as an additional receiver. There he goes to the left side, but McManus looking down the middle to the tight end, inside the 15-yard line. That would be good for a first down on a 13-yard reception by Pat Carter. Again, the thing about Pat Carter is he can take so much pressure off your outside receivers, and McManus has done a wonderful job of spreading the ball around. We've seen him throw the ball to Lewis, to Gainer for a touchdown, and now Carter catches his 4th pass. But tight end is such an important position. I think one of the most interesting in all of football. Averaging better than 10 yards a catch coming in, and he's maintaining it. And remember, on national television against Miami, he played a sensational game that day. Now they try to get to the outside again, and they cannot, this time with Carter. So it will be 2nd down and a good 10 yards, a little pushing and shoving after the hit. And an important down here for the Auburn defense to force Florida State into a 3rd and long situation, and then potentially either the turnover or just a field goal attempt. And the offense with 3:43 needs a chance to get back and score before half. Pat Dye saving his timeouts. There's 3:30 to go. He has all 3. Florida State without 1. Carter on that halfback draw. They get inside the 10-yard line. So against that heavily loaded defense of Auburn's, they have run the delay out of the split back formation. And the coaching staff obviously looking for it out of the eye, and it's been a successful play call here against Dye's defense. Pat Dye, and on his left, Wayne Hall, the defensive coordinator here at Auburn. Sensational statistic right there. Every lineman he has coached at Auburn, every starting defensive lineman has become all SEC during his career.
It's a big play at 17-3. Carter cannot get it. Defense was ready. Eddie Phillips, along with Greg Staples, coming in to deliver the blow, and that will set up another field goal opportunity.
Now, ordinarily, you try to block a field goal here, but as you mentioned earlier, Brent, Florida State is so unpredictable, you're afraid to try to block a field goal because of a trick play.
Now, Pat Dye uses one of his timeouts here. With 2:30 to go, moves one from 27 yards. And Schmidt ties the record. He and Luis Zendejas are now tied as the all-time leading scorers in the history of college football. And he pushes Florida State ahead of Auburn 20-3. Now let's take a look at these two fine schools, Auburn University and Florida State. On Dockery, I'm Brent Musburger. Florida State, favored by 3, leads Auburn by 17. They have taken advantage of Auburn mistakes here in the first half. Harry Mose will attempt to give Jeff Berger some decent field position. The kick is high, and Mose gives it up to the return man on the right side, and he is down at the 20-yard line. That was Perry Reed, the freshman. So it's college football on Saturday afternoon, and then tomorrow we'll focus in on how Berger brings the Tigers to the line of scrimmage. Alexander Wright, the speedster, is in the game. The offensive line gives him great protection, and he throws an interception right over the middle. Ball is picked off. That was Stan Shiver. He stepped in there and made the interception for the Seminoles.
Boy, defensive back's dream, Brent. When you're in that kind of situation, you know he's going to throw the ball. But Jeff Berger, I was really impressed with the way he hung in there in the pocket. Great protection up front. His feet are solidly, just stands there tall in the pocket that tries to deliver the ball. But Shiver, number 37, was reading him all the way and stepped in front of the receiver, Bolton, number 24. Good read by Shiver, the strong safety.
And Bolton is down on the field. He is shaken up near the 35-yard line. Now the situation is 2 minutes and 16 seconds to go. Florida State leading 20-3. And I'll tell you, they're looking for an early knockout punch, aren't they?
But remember, they wasted a few timeouts. They have no timeouts remaining here. They probably should have saved 1 or 2 to give for precisely this part of the game.
And coming up at halftime, a reminder, we'll have the Prudential College Football Report with Jim Nance. Smith returns at tailback. Williams is the fullback. Carter, wide open at the 25-yard line, inside the 20. He came off the line and no one touched him. It's an 18-yard gain, and Danny McManus to Pat Carter has been the big play so frequently here in the first half.
And when your tight end is catching that many passes, the linebacker has to hold him up to the line of scrimmage. He gets bumped early on, but he gets off rather cleanly, and you can't do that when you have a guy with Carter playing tight end. That's I believe, his 5th catch of the day.
Now they split the 2 backs. McManus to Lewis, touchdown Florida State. Herb Gaynor for the touchdown, 19 yards.
Beautiful timing there between Danny McManus and Gaynor. Threw that ball before he had made the break.
Now the record. And Derek Schmidt becomes the all-time scorer in the history of college football. And he does it in the first half.
And Brent, isn't it ironic? The all-time leading NCAA scorer, and Bobby Bowden was concerned about him kicking that extra point against Miami. His teammates helping him celebrate. Mentioned the perfect timing, Brent. Watch McManus. He goes back. He's looking to his right. He comes to his left. The ball is thrown before the break. But this was set up all of his throws to the tight end. That allowed single coverage on Gaynor. And because Florida State has spread the ball around, the Auburn pass defense can't double up on anyone in particular.
A shocking score here in the first half. Florida State 27, Auburn 3. Been its own worst enemy here in the first half. Now Mose. And he is hammered down at the 16-yard line, and the Seminoles go out after the Tigers now. Keith Carter, number 59, gets in and makes the hit. And Jeff Berger quickly brings the offense out. They have 2 timeouts and a minute and a half to go.
Plenty of time to get something on the board. He has not gone to his tight end, Walter Reeves, yet today, Brent, who's also a fine tight end for Auburn.
Well, the tone for this game was set on Auburn's first offensive play. A completed pass and then a fumble. Recovered by the Seminoles, and they quickly moved in. They run the draw play on first down with Danley. That's a 17-yard gain on first down. They stop the clock momentarily while they move the chains. No huddle. Berger will make the call at the line. And Sanders comes up over the top on that far side.
Terrific coverage here by Deion Sanders, number 2. I don't think Berger could get his full body into that ball, so the ball didn't have as much steam on it as he would have liked. But Sanders does a very athletic job of knocking the ball down without creating pass interference.
Wright, Bolton, and Tillman are the wide men. Got a minute 17 to work with. And again, they run that draw play with young Stacy Danley. Ticking down toward 1 minute. Breakdown offensively. Berger goes for Wright. Double coverage, intercepted. Dodge comes up with an interception to snuff out the threat at the 25-yard line. And Florida State can run out the clock here in the first half with a 27-3 lead, or they can go long.
I don't blame Jeff Berger here on this throw. He's trying to make something happen, which a quarterback has to do in this kind of situation. Wright is a speedster. The ball was underthrown because Berger was hit as he was releasing the ball, and Dodge just made a nice play on the interception.
That's 5 turnovers by Auburn in the first half. .47 seconds to go. It's 27-3 Florida State. Under Coach Bowden, they have never beaten the Tigers here in Auburn. Williams, the fullback. They fake that end around. Auburn ready for that play. Ogletree, the linebacker, making the stop on Smith.
So when they go in at halftime, Pat Dye's adjustments, I think, are going to be more on the offensive side of the ball, Brent. They haven't really had any consistency on offense. They come up with a play here and a play there, but they're going to have to find some sort of consistency in their passing game.
Clock running down. Williams bolts free right up the middle. Comes across midfield, and the clock is stopped with 2 seconds. It's a 28-yard gain.
Now would he try a field goal with 2 seconds left? Now Dane Williams, we've seen him as a short yardage runner, but as you can see here, he's got some pretty good speed as well. Picks up a block from his wide receiver, or a little bit of a block, and then gets out of bounds. I guess they're not going to try the field goal.
It would be so long, Pat. I think they'd be fearful of a block.
Yeah, you're right.
Pick it up and go for a touchdown. 2 seconds to go. And they'll run Sammy Smith as time expires here in the first half. A great performance by the Seminoles of Florida State as Auburn self-destructs. 5 turnovers, and the Seminoles make them pay. It's a 27-3 lead. Bobby Bowden did everything. He took advantage of the turnovers, and he also came up with the big play. On 4th down in punt formation, they went to Dane Williams, the short man. He ran it for the first down. They marched in for a touchdown. It's 27-3. Jim Nantz will be back with the College Football Report after this message and a word from your local stations.
Consider the UPS next day.
We have Ross and Carter, and remember, the Seminoles have a few wrinkles with this return team, too. They'll go to Carter, and they drive him back to the goal line. He comes out near the 23-yard line. After this message and a word from your local stations.
Consider the UPS next day.
We have Ross and Carter, and remember, the Seminoles have a few wrinkles with this return team, too. They'll go to Carter, and they drive him back to the goal line. He comes out near the 23-yard line. Now, Pat Dye came out and spoke with our John Dockery. He put his finger on the obvious problem.
You know, we've done a decent job on their running game. That hurt us. But the offense hadn't done anything to give the defense any encouragement. So it's been and you know, I don't know if we can get back in the football game or not. It's the ball team.
It'll be all uphill, and certainly Auburn cannot turn it over anymore with the official stopping play here, and Florida State going back into the huddle here.
And if they're going to get back into it, they have to stop Danny McManus, I think, early in this second half, because the key to any half is a first or second series. And, you know, on offense, you get 7 series a game or and a half, and Auburn's going to have to score probably 5 of those 7 times this half.
Gainer comes out to the right. Sammy Smith on first down, his best run of the day.
That was a nice adjustment there by Florida State. In the first half, they ran that play strong side about 3 times, and because Auburn overshifted, that time Sammy Smith came back to the weak side of the defense for a big play.
Now that shows you how effective the run defense of Auburn's has been, but it's misleading, because Sammy Smith has kicked in with a couple of key runs, and one of his runs was for minus 20 yards. He's been coming uphill against that number all game long. Now they sweep him to the left, and this time he is stopped by Eddie Phillips, 46. Now here's how our scoring has gone. Williams, the fullback, blasted across from the 2, and it was 7-0. Then Gainer with his first touchdown catch from 5 yards out. It was 14-0. Schmidt in the 37-yard field goal. That made it 17-0 before Lyle booted an Auburn field goal. But Florida State wasn't finished. Schmidt 27-yarder. Then he broke the all-time scoring record when he added this extra point after Gaynor's second touchdown reception of 19 yards. McManus going deep. Intercepted at the 20-yard line by Briggs. Briggs' second interception. And he slides down at the 34. And that could be the break that the Auburn team needs to get started here in the second half.
This Auburn defense really has played pretty well in spite of the turnovers. Good play by Alvin Briggs. His second interception. Again, you see him keying in on McManus, seeing the ball the whole way. Never turned his back to the receiver or the ball. Made a nice play. Then does a sensational job of running it. Picks up a couple of nice blocks.
Now they put Danley back in the I formation behind Ware. And they run Danley on first down. Knocked out of bounds at the 41-yard line by Martin Mayhew. So Auburn will line up here early in the second half and make Florida State play a little football.
As I just said, Auburn will have 7 offensive series this half. I think, Brent, they need to score either a field goal or a touchdown in about 5 of those and shut out the Florida State offense.
Donaldson and Tillman are the wide men. Reeves, who's been quiet, the tight end. Donaldson in motion. They come back with Danley for the first down. 2 running plays to open the second half. And the crowd starts to come alive. Florida State was something to prove in this game. Do they remember what happened against Miami and Tallahassee? Berger's first throw of the second half to Donaldson. He gets to the Seminoles' 45-yard line.
Brett, that was the play they opened the game with, if you remember, when Donaldson fumbled the ball. A quick screen. It was very successful the first time they ran it, and that time they pick up about 9 yards. A very simple, safe pass.
Bolton brings in the play from the sideline, and Tillman leaves. Second and short. The coaching staff wants it. It can be a superb passing down. Sweep, and the freshman Danley getting what appeared to be a first down before Paul McGowan, number 38, tackled him. And McGowan, one of the better linebackers in college football. The chains will move. There's McGowan, one of the finalists for the Butkus Award, chasing after a good one in Chris Spielman of Ohio State. Harry Mose is the tailback. Here's the toss to him as they bring right on that end around, and the Seminoles were ready. A big defensive play by Odell Haggins.
That reverse was going to be a big gainer, but Haggins was not fooled. He comes from the interior of the line. He's playing nose tackle, and a nose tackle should not be able to have that kind of penetration on a reverse. It was just good effort by Haggins that got him there.
Auburn undoubtedly misses the experience at Tamburella at center. He went on to the National Football League, where he's playing with the Philadelphia Eagles, and Haggins was able to come in against the middle of Pat Dye's offense. Donaldson in motion. Berger won't get it off. And there is a flag down on the play as Hayes wraps up the quarterback.
A dead ball. Delay of game. Against that.
Another costly error against Auburn.
Well, they had an impressive drive going here for a little while. They picked up the first 2 first downs running the football. Then they got themselves in some trouble on the reverse and then the penalty.
They had a first down at the Seminoles' 43-yard line. Now they're back on their own 43. 24 yards to go for the first down. And they run that halfback draw. Florida State not fooled this time. Let's get an update on Oklahoma. Here's Jim Nance. Jimmy?
Brent, this game is now inside 4 minutes, and it could be coming down to the wire. But the wishbone wizard for Oklahoma, quarterback Jamel Holloway, was just carried off the field after this play. Looks like it could be a sprained ankle after the cut there. Again, Holloway was carried off the field. We'll keep you updated on the injury. Oklahoma State has the football 95 yards away with 4 minutes to go. Let's go back to Brenton Peck.
They've got a great backup quarterback in Thompson. Undoubtedly, he'll come in now. And Berger. And again, Deion Sanders pounds, but that time too hard and too quickly. Interference is the call on the All-American. Deion Sanders working against Alexander Wright. Hit him early.
We saw earlier in the game Sanders make some nice plays by going over the receiver. This time he goes through him. The ball is clearly catchable. It's right there in front of Wright, and Sanders goes right through him for the easy call on the interference. Bobby Bowden is upset, Brent. He thinks that Sanders has the opportunity to go for the pass, but you can't go through the receiver to do so.
Against the defense, spot foul, first down.
So a break for the Tigers, who trailed Bowden and the Seminoles 27-3. 10 minutes to go in the third period. Not bad, Bobby, if you can go that long without a penalty. Despite that interference call, folks, Sanders is as good as they come.
Great punt returner as well.
Ball's at the 41. Play action. Wide open's Donaldson. Inside the 30. Gets to the side, and he's out at the 28. That's a 14-yard gain and another first down for Auburn.
An impressive drive by the Auburn offense this first time the second half. This is what they needed. They look a lot more spirited. Berger came off his primary receiver. He was looking to his right. Came back to Donaldson on the backside for the first down. But they're moving the chains. A touchdown would really lift this team at this time of the game.
Danley back in at tail. Ware goes up on the wing, and Reeves shifts over to the left side with Wright in motion. There's that toss to Danley. The offensive line gets out, gives him a hole, and the freshman gets to the 22-yard line. Well, McGowan makes still another stop, and he knows how important it is to be active against Jeff Berger.
Big thing about him is he's a good leader. They have confidence.
As often as Auburn is this season, it's hard to be a very good, effective running football team because your linemen just are never quite aggressive enough. The two are hard to do to back-to-back together.
There's that toss sweep. Danley short of the first down at that 20-yard line. This will leave them with a third and short.
Bring it to it.
Berger checking over at the sideline. And a play comes in.
Important on this drive, Brent, I think that Auburn get a touchdown, not a field goal.
Ware, the fullback. They go to a power I. Now they set down on a wishbone. Danley for the first down. He battles his way to the 15. We want to stay in on that Oklahoma game. Let's go back to New York and Jim Nance. Jim?
Well, Brent, it looks like now we're back on for Nebraska, Oklahoma on the 21st. Mike Gundy of Oklahoma State intercepted here by Troy Johnson, who puts it away for the Sooners. 22-10, less than 4 minutes to go. Let's go back to Brenton Penn.
Well, Barry didn't want it that close, Jim, but believe me, he wanted a belt tightener before Nebraska, and he got all he bargained for. Auburn running the draw with Danley. He gets to the 12-yard line. And McGowan again over there, number 38 on the hit.
It's amazing that play, I think, is the most popular play running in football these days. You see all the pros run it. We heard Eric Dickerson run 47 gap where the tackle pulls. Same play there for Danley. The offensive guard and tackle out in front. He reads their blocks.
The Seminole defense has been tough down there in the shadow of its own goal. Reeves switches over to the right side of the formation. And Berger sends everybody out. Batted down. Eric Hayes got his mitts on it.
Eric Hayes has played well all game long. A short drop, and then because you can't rush really the passer when he's getting rid of the ball so quickly, you get your big old paws up. Hayes fought down the line of scrimmage and timed his jump beautifully.
There are some 10,500 Seminole fans here. Most of them are located directly behind the team in that end zone, and they can be heard right now. Berger on the third down. It's complete, but Ware won't gain an inch as McGowan goes right with him. And what an afternoon the senior from Winter Park, Florida is having. He has made 8 tackles. That gives him 108 for the season, not to mention some of the assists today.
Great flow here by McGowan. You always talk about getting a matchup between a linebacker and a back, and that's what happened there, but that time McGowan got the better of the matchup against Ware.
So a 31-yard field goal attempt by Win Lyle. And he puts his second one up on the board. Auburn with the first points here in the second half, but again they must settle for a field goal. Florida State still with a big lead. It's gone by in the third quarter, and the Tigers have put only 3 points on the board. They'll have to do better than that. Ross and Carter are deep. This is Ross. He's down to 23. Luxury suites here. Let's go across the way to John Dockery. John?
Brent, can you see me? I'm across the field here in one of the executive suites, and we've talked about what a magnificent facility this is. It's amazing to think that in a town of 13,000 that they can build a stadium like this and fill it with 86,000 people, including 71 executive suites, and for a mere $2,000 a seat, you can be in the lap of luxury and enjoy yourself while watching the Auburn Tigers. Now back to you, Brent. I think I'll hang out here for a while.
I don't blame you, Doc. Man who deserves a lot of credit is Paul Connor. He's the assistant to Pat Dye in the athletic department. He has this field in great shape. They run that draw play again. And that time, the middle of that Auburn defense, led by linebacker Quentin Riggins, gangs up on Sammy Smith.
This is very much a gang tackle. Watch how many blue jerseys are around the ball. And Brent, I sense a little different feeling from this Auburn team this second half. Watch Sammy Smith. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 blue jerseys. They're playing with a lot more enthusiasm, I think, than they did the first half.
Williams, the Seminole fullback. He's in front of Smith. They fake the draw and throw it out quickly to Dane Williams. And Williams gets a first down before Porter tackles him.
Dane Williams is one of the finest catching fullbacks in America. He's going to come out of the backfield here after the fake to Sammy Smith. And this is all set up because Sammy Smith has run the ball so well. But the soft hands, he's 230 pounds, had some big catches all year long. But a terrific tackle there by Kevin Porter in the open field.
Lawrence Dawsey in at flanker. He's out to McManus left. And they bring that big fella in motion, and they've thrown to Carter when he goes in motion so far. This time they use him as a blocker. And they go up the middle into the arms of Kurt Crane, number 39, out of Birmingham, Alabama, the inside linebacker.
Really important for this Auburn defense here to prevent Florida State from getting another first down and punt the ball so that their offense can have decent field position.
Now they send Andre Bruce over to the Carter side. Smith, and they slip inside the linebacker. They get out to the 42 before Quentin Riggins tackles him.
Good block by the right guard here, John Brown, number 50. Now watch, he's going to step around the center. The center takes the nose man, he kicks out. Sammy Smith steps right behind him. John Brown, well done.
And Brown took Bruce out of the play that time. the third down for the Seminoles. There's Carter, 85, off the line. They bring him through in motion. McManus looking for him. What a great catch that is.
Boy, that is.
It was not a well-thrown ball. Pat Carter turns around, grabs it, and gets the Seminoles a tight end. Yes, Keith Jackson is probably the best tight end in college football, but I want to tell you, Mr. Carter is not far behind. 6 grabs for 72 yards, and he's a monster blocker.
Different type of blocker than you have to be in the wishbone like Keith Jackson is. Pat Carter has to be very strong at the point of attack. Keith Jackson actually loops out and blocks a lot of defensive backs.
So with 4:11 to go in the third, it's Florida State 27 and Auburn 6. The Seminoles driving. There's Lewis coming around, and he is cut off. Nowhere to go. Ogletree, number 94, surrounding him.
But Ogletree has really played well this game. That's twice he has stayed home and made the play on the backside.
You know, he's a little more disciplined, apparently, than Bruce. Bruce likes to line up and just go out after the quarterback and search and destroy. He likes the sack and the big play for a defensive lineman, and sometimes when you're up against a Florida State, you've got to sit there at home and be a little more patient. Tom O'Malley in at tight end. Off a quick drop, McManus throws incomplete.
Now, I like Danny McManus, Brent. He's an unselfish quarterback. You know, his completion percentage is not that high these days. It's 54%. Not that high these days, actually. But he is so tough. He's unselfish. He'll throw the ball away rather than take the sack. You don't find too many unselfish quarterbacks in college football anymore, unfortunately.
Pat Dye looking for a key turnover here, trailing by 21 points. 3:30 to go. Seminoles hope to keep that clock moving. Deep drop by McManus. Incomplete.
Yeah, Andre Bruce absolutely smothered Sammy Smith on the coverage.
And Bowden says, that's just like Deion Sanders. Somebody threw the flag on my man. Now let's get it out there on Bruce. I didn't see any difference. Did you? Come on. Don't give me that.
What an entertaining guy he is, Bobby Bowden.
This could be a big one for him, too. He's had a tough time with the Auburns and Miamis and Florida's lately. Tootin's punt. Takes a bounce, and there's some great coverage there by the Seminoles. 39-yard punt, and it'll be up to the Auburn offense.
I don't know. I saw Earl Bruce do a pretty good job with his team last year, particularly in that Cotton Bowl win.
Places like Ohio State, it's what have you done for me lately?
You're right.
Are you listening, Mr. Dye? Off a play fake. Berger is back. Going long. Diving attempt there by Lawyer Tillman, who has been shut down pretty effectively, and he and Sanders were not exchanging Christmas greetings over there, were they? Tillman came in here with 24 catches, averaging 18 yards a catch and 5 touchdowns. Outside of that 51-yarder earlier, they pretty effectively handled it.
Brad, there's a look at number 80, Terry Warren. Saw one of the most unusual things I've seen in college football. Last week, when his team was warming up before the game, he stayed on the field and sang the national anthem, and sang it very well.
The screen. Well, it's time now to hand out the Toyota Leadership Awards, which are given by the coaching and the faculty staffs for contributions not only on the field of play, but also in the classroom. And from Florida State, we have got Martin Mayhew. Now on third down, Berger again with excellent protection, and Wright gets it for a first down at the 32-yard line, a 16-yard reception.
That is very much a clutch throw. Jeff Berger is really holding on the ball a long time, which means his offensive line is giving him excellent protection.
Berger brings the Tigers to the line. Runs the draw play out to the 34, and that's Stacy Danley, the freshman. So along with John Dockery and Pat Hayden, I'm Brent Musburger in Auburn, Alabama, Jordan-Hare Stadium. And it has been all Seminoles so far. 5 Auburn turnovers, and Florida State scores 27 first-half points. The only points scored here in the second half, a field goal by Auburn. Berger's receivers covered. He takes off, stops the clock there at the 34-yard line.
One of the reasons that Auburn went to the passing attack this year was because of the great defense you find in the Southeastern Conference. Pat Dye a year ago said to win against the Southeastern Conference teams in November, you had to throw the football. As you can see, 7 of the toughest defenses in the country are right down here in the Southeastern Conference.
Harry Mose checks in at tailback. And they swing it to him. There's a penalty marker thrown on the far side. Mose getting close to first down yardage on the pass play.
Looks like it's a clip against Auburn.
Clipping. Called against Auburn.
Another big mistake at the 2-minute mark here in the third period. So along with those 5 turnovers, they have committed penalties at crucial times here this afternoon, and they let Florida State get a first down on a fake punt. 7 penalties against Auburn for 55 yards.
Now in a 3rd and forever, I think, Brent, you have to give Lawyer Tillman a chance. Use his height. He's 6'4". Give him an opportunity to try to make a big play or perhaps a pass interference that'll give you the first down.
Rolls out of trouble, but the second man brings him down on the 7-yard line. Haggins, the nose man, gets through. Another big play by Haggins, a 14-yard sack on the play.
Well, it's the second time, Brent, we have seen Haggins come, who was playing nose tackle, almost virtually clean, and make the big play.
Schulman must punt from his own end zone. 10 men on the front. Sanders ready. Offside, Florida State. There may be a second flag. There is not. The ball rolls dead there at the 42-yard line, but Florida State jumped offside.
I think they may have roughed the kicker, although it was not called, Brent. Schulman was definitely hit.
Hey, you can't hit the goddamn.
Now, that's exactly what Pat is complaining about, saying that he can't hit the punter down there in the end zone. When we sort this one out, there was no question that the defender on the right side of the line of scrimmage, Eric Williams, jumped too quickly. Now the penalty would be declined after that 50-yard effort, and they'd turn the ball over. It's not a first down on offside. That's why Dye wanted roughing the punter. He would have had a first down, but it'll be Florida State's ball when you come back. Is apparently from the Marlon Brando school of punting. Keep an eye on him right here, folks.
Never touched.
Not touched. Nice try, though.
Lawrence Olivier would be proud.
So it'll be the Seminoles ball now. 1st and 10 on the 42. They lead it 27-6. We've got a minute to go in the third period. Edgar Bennett checks into that Florida State backfield. He's at left half along with Carter. He gets the call, cuts back behind the quarterback. McManus throws a key block, and Bennett breaks free before Briggs gets him out of bounds. What a great block by the quarterback, a 21-yard gain. McManus playing with that injured ankle, heavily taped and wearing a new high-top shoe here in the second half.
Tell you, Florida State, Brent, has so many different weapons, too. But watch McManus. He's the right part of the screen. Bennett decides to ad-lib, and McManus, number 14, right there. Bottom right of the screen on number 45, Staples makes the play, allows Bennett to go outside.
Now they run the halfback draw, and Carter comes free, close to another first down. How'd he come out of that group?
You know, Brett, there were some questions about this Florida State team and how good they were because of the competition they played other than Miami, much like we've seen with Syracuse this year. But like Syracuse, I think this Florida State team is for real.
Still agree with me that they shouldn't have kicked the extra point to settle for the tie?
Yes, I still believe.
One and all that the later we got in the season, the more important that play was going to be.
You're going to hold that over my head the rest of the year, aren't you?
1 yard to go. Off the fake, McManus, incomplete for Bennett. Let's go downstairs to John Dockery. Doc. John, thank you. I think we got word from the Fiesta Bowl that it's a possibility that the winner of this game would go out there. And, of course, let me hope that John Dockery is accurate, that the bowl deals do wait for 2 weeks from now. But I'm not certain that they do, Pat Hayden. They seem to jump in there early, and one bowl makes a deal, and everyone falls in line. I got to tell you the truth. I think they become their own worst enemies when they do that, because the public would like to see the legitimate 1 and 2 get together if they can, and not have somebody sign up early and then an upset along the way, and the public doesn't get the best game.
Well, Miami is a perfect example of that. They have 2 tough games after Bowl Invitation Day against Notre Dame and South Carolina.
Bobby Bowden telling us at the top of this broadcast that he felt the loser of this game would be eliminated from national championship consideration. A loss in November is much more important. 1 quarter to go now. College football on CBS will return after this message and a word from your local station. Interceptions. Smith would have 60 yards, but he lost 20 on 1 play. Both of McManus's TD passes were to Herb Gaynor, and Derek Schmidt boots his way to #1 here this afternoon. The all-time college football scoring leader. Now 15 minutes to go, and Florida State pushing that Auburn defense back inside the 30-yard line for this first down, with Carter going in motion. And they run Bennett inside the 25. I get a kick out of Carter when he goes in motion. Pat, watch him. He's like he's trying to hide behind everybody. What is he, about 6'5"?
Yeah, 255. Tough to hide.
60 pounds.
Yeah. I tell you, he really makes a difference on this team, Pat Carter does, because when they've run the ball successfully with Sammy Smith, they've run it right behind him and Pat Tomberlin.
They must get down to the 17 for a first down. More importantly, keep that clock moving. They have split Carter out to the left side. Bennett, a fresh back, takes over here for Florida State and almost breaks free. He's down at the 5-yard line. The ball will be spotted at the 5. An 18-yard run by Bennett.
There's no team in college football that has more depth in the skill positions than this Florida State team. Edgar Bennett is listed as the 3rd team fullback, and he makes a nice, very nice cut from the fullback position, which is tough to do because you get to the line of scrimmage so quickly.
He's come off the bench to run 4 times for 44 yards. He's a freshman out of Jacksonville. 6'1", 197, number 22, Edgar Bennett. They run him. And they stop him right there at the line of scrimmage for Pat Dye. Alvin Mitchell in on the stop. Now, normally, Dye's teams are very tough in the 4th quarter. If you go back and take a look at what he's done against Alabama, for example, through the years, Auburn has been very tenacious in the final 15 minutes. He has a club that's in shape, uses a lot of players, but here this afternoon he has been outgunned right from the start. There's that toss and the cutback. Auburn defense met that challenge.
You mentioned that about Pat Dye. I think one of the reasons he's been so tough over the 4th quarter is in years past, Brent, he said that strong running game that's pounded people and really taking control in the 4th quarter. This year's team is a little bit different with a passing attack.
Now the Seminoles with a 3rd and goal. McManus has tossed 2 touchdown passes here this afternoon, both to Gaynor. He sends Gaynor out to the left and Lewis to the right. diving interception that time. Got through, and it's a touchdown. Pat Carter had it. I thought Crane had picked it off with the dive, but it got through. And Pat Carter was there for the touchdown. That should do it.
Very nice play here. What they did was move Bennett to a trips formation on the right side, send him out a little bit farther to the right, and then the tight end Carter over the middle. A team that utilizes its tight end is very tough inside the 10-yard line.
Boy, he is some player, isn't he?
I like him a lot. A good college tight ends this year.
And Schmidt adds one to the record. 34 for Florida State and 6 for Auburn. The Seminoles not to be denied here this afternoon.
Bennett to the wing position. Here's Carter, who split out a little bit. Now Bennett comes here, occupies the safety. The tight end comes right over the middle for the touchdown. 3 receivers to that side. They put Riggins, the linebacker, in a bind, and Carter made the nice catch.
Auburn coming in had allowed only 71 points, and here today Florida State explodes for 34. And Mose returning. Well, tomorrow we'll take a look. 12:20 to go. Now they'll be teeing off on Mr. Burton. Incomplete. An update. Here's Jim Nance in New York. Jim.
Well, Brendan, that battle for the top spot in the ACC, Clemson scores first. It's Rodney Williams to the pride of the Tigers, a wide open Gary Cooper, and Cooper will race 29 yards for the touchdown, and it's 7-0 Clemson, and they've just gone to the half there. Let's go back to Brendan Peck.
All right, Jimmy, thank you. Here it is, 34-6, Florida State leading Auburn. That's the time left. Everybody out. He throws underneath to Bolton.
Brent, I don't think we've given this Florida State defense enough credit. You know, we always think about Florida State's trick plays and the reverses, but you forget how tough and physical they are on defense. They played a sensational game, actually the second one we've seen. Saw them earlier against Miami, but today I've been most impressed with this defense.
McGowan, the ringleader, number 38, and he's played a sensational game there at linebacker. Sanders, number 2, their other All-American. Complete to Tillman. He gets the first down. Tracy Sanders. Here's the schedule remaining for these teams. Auburn with 2 tough games, Georgia and Lars Tate, and then Alabama and Bobby Humphrey. Alabama with an important one tonight in Baton Rouge against LSU. Then Florida State would seem to have it pretty easy with Furman before they take on arch rival Florida.
Tough emotionally next week for Auburn, coming back from this game and another tough SEC game with Georgia.
Might be a rather hard work week around Auburn. That's the freshman Danley and Eric Hayes, who's played a big game. Defensively, you were mentioning, and some of the key men down there, Eric Hayes, 78, Odell Haggins, the noseman, 53, Thomas Harp has played at right defensive tackle, Terry Warren, 80, and of course Paul McGowan, number 38. David Palmer has also contributed. He's number 48, and Shelton Thompson, 93, the other outside linebacker. Down the sideline for Tillman, and Sanders stayed with it. I've seen him catch balls like that.
Boy, that's another terrific play by Deion Sanders. You know, you have different philosophies when you have a guy like him. You either put your best man on him and go after him like they're doing here, or you stay away from him. Today, Auburn's tried to pick on him with Tillman, and generally Sanders has got the better of the battle.
Sanders was a high school quarterback out of the Fort Myers area, threw left-handed when he came to Florida State. In fact, he still throws left-handed, as a matter of fact.
Makes sense, yeah.
Third down. is the running back. Danley well covered.
Well, Shelton Thompson did a very nice job of reading the screen there.
Well, let's see. What did Coach Bowden do differently this week? Well, normally they bus up here from Tallahassee. But this time, just to change things up, I think he boarded him on an airplane down there.
Well, it worked. I think he'll do it again, don't you?
Get that same plane ready for Gainesville. Well, Sanders down at the 36-yard line. 10:15 to go. It's Florida State 34 and Auburn 6. Flow here this afternoon as Sammy Smith picks his daylight on that far side over there.
They've given up half as many points today as they have all season long. And a lot of that was forced by the turnovers by the offense. I don't think you necessarily blame the defense.
Let me ask you a question, Pat. Hypothetical, of course. If they had kicked the extra point and been successful and tied, after today, who do you think would have been ahead in the Associated Press poll? Miami or Florida State?
Would have been Florida State.
Second down. And they toss it to Smith. He's ganged up on there at the 40-yard line. We mentioned the teams with dreams of a national championship. How about the schedule? Oklahoma with the belt tightener against Oklahoma State. They play Missouri and then the big one at Nebraska. Nebraska still in the chase, and they get to host Oklahoma.
I'm not so sure Nebraska might not be #1 this week, huh?
Now we get word that Jamel Holloway is out for the season and will not play because of torn ligaments. And unfortunately, there will be surgery for that fine Oklahoma quarterback on Monday. Incompleted pass thrown here by Auburn. So now Miami's chances, and they have Miami of Ohio tonight in the Orange Bowl. Then they play Virginia Tech, Toledo, Notre Dame, and South Carolina. Not an easy road. Florida State, meanwhile, has Furman and Florida. They will be carrying one loss. We'll check in on some others later. Notre Dame, with one defeat, came from behind today. Tootin punts it away for Florida State. And Reed down at the 20-yard line. 8:47. Over the middle to Danley. He gets out to the 30. He'll be short of a first down. So the first play of the game. Auburn completed a pass, fumbled, Florida State recovered, drove in for a touchdown, and the game really hasn't been the same since. Auburn turned the ball over 5 times in the first half, and then Florida State made them pay dearly. And now the Seminoles are bringing down the clock as Auburn passing the ball underneath. Not going to be good enough, not enough time left. They come quickly to the line without a huddle. Incomplete, out of bounds. Let's go downstairs to John Dockery. Doc.
Yes, Brent.
8 minutes for Tillman. First down. Look at the Seminoles go after him. That's a 22-yard gain. He had a 51-yarder in the first half. Lawyer Tillman, number 85.
Double wide receiver here to the one side. Tillman, the tall receiver in the slot. Nice throw there by Berger.
Is thrown underneath now. Down at the 34-yard line. Berger brings it underneath as Auburn stays in that hurry-up attack now.
Brent, if Auburn doesn't establish more of a running game during those last few ball games, they're going to have a tough go in the rest of their SEC games, believe me.
Fumble but it's recovered by Auburn. That's the first time that a fumble has bounced right. Kevin Grant coming in defensively for the Seminoles, knocked it free. It's a 10-yard loss. One of the things, Pat, that has impressed me has really been the performance. It sounds foolish to say, but the Auburn offensive line has given Berger a lot of time to throw here this afternoon.
Terrific pass protection, but they haven't been as aggressive on the running plays.
Complete and out of bounds. That'll be far short of a first down. The receiver that time was Duke Donaldson. He's fumbled twice. He fumbled on that first play and later coughed up a punt.
Now, obviously, they'll go for it on 4th and about 6. Here, the receivers have to make certain that they run their routes at least 7 yards to pick up the first down.
You cannot overstress emotion in college football. I thought it was strange that Florida State would come in a road team and be the favorite here, but now I know why. Auburn was obviously so emotional against Florida last Saturday night. Meanwhile, Florida State played Tulane and scored, I think it was 73 points. Incomplete.
That was amazing. Eric Parsegan said that at the top of our show, top of the day, and he's been in that position so often as a coach. He saw it early on.
Well, LSU goes tonight against Coach Curry in Alabama. And their schedule after this one tonight in Baton Rouge is Mississippi State and Tulane. If they can handle Bama tonight and beat Mississippi State, they'll be going to the Sugar Bowl. Auburn with 2 tough games. That annual war, the last one against Alabama. Syracuse trying to wrap up an unbeaten season. They'll play Boston College in West Virginia. And we'll see Notre Dame next Saturday against Alabama. Then they go to Penn State and Miami. A tough road for the Irish the rest of the way.
The most difficult schedule in the country Notre Dame has had this year.
Well, this time they bring the wing back around, and that's Dawson. There's a flag down. So the gadgets continue.
Well, Bobby Bowden just doesn't let up, does he? He's going to make somebody think about those next week.
And the big story there, the loss of Holloway. Nebraska on the 21st, but keep in mind they have a splendid freshman. However, you have to wonder if he's had enough experience to go in against Nebraska now in that key shootout as you take a look at the scores of the bigger games this afternoon.
Brett, what do you think about the voting next week? You think Nebraska might make up some ground on Oklahoma this week?
It's possible.
Oklahoma struggle,
was pressed. They have now lost. Some of the voters will probably handicap the Nebraska-Oklahoma game, would be my guess. And so it's possible that the Cornhuskers will receive a few more first-place votes.
Yep.
And make it a little bit tighter. And Oklahoma loaded with some great running backs, and Barry Switzer's put together a quality offensive line. But that's a significant loss for them. Against a team like Nebraska, as Florida State goes to work on the clock, I guess one would think that they'd have to get the ball into the hands of their tight end, Keith Jackson, a few times.
He won it last year at the end of the game. But as we saw Thompson, the backup quarterback, he was sensational in our game against Texas that we saw. We're looking at this Auburn team. Again, the biggest task Pat Dye has is getting his team emotionally ready for that challenge against Georgia next week. Very tough thing to do to bring young men back after a loss like this.
Knowing Coach Dye, he will have their full attention. McManus drops off the screen, but there was a whistle. Dropping it off for Bennett. You know, one of the things I think we should say, Pat, is this is the first time you and I've had an opportunity to work together down at Auburn. First time I've been here, and it really is a well-run organization. They do a great job down here. These folks love their football. I'm sure they're disappointed here this afternoon. They've been licked pretty good, 34-6. But there's always another week.
And this game does not affect them in the SEC standings at all. Obviously, the SEC is a conference rule where non-conference games will never affect the outcome of the league championship. They're still chasing LSU.
And on the other hand, you've got to feel happy for Coach Bobby Bowden. He was stung by that Miami comeback for Coach Jimmy Johnson, and he had to prove that he could win a big game. And they have come up strong here when it counted this afternoon.
interesting that you mentioned that, because I talked with Bobby Bowden yesterday, and this is his last real big win was 1985 against Nebraska. But the fans at home will consider this a much bigger win against a natural rival like Auburn.
Dexter Carter, the ball carrier. He and Sammy Smith. Well, there is just what you were talking about since '83.
That Florida game is going to be a big one, too. Smith against Smith. Emmett Smith of Florida.
They want that end around. Fumble. Auburn ball at the 22-yard line. Ogletree wraps it up. And Rowland, the nose man, knocked it free.
Now, some people will question whether Bobby Bowden is pouring it on here, running reverses, but this is, folks, you have to remember, is a natural part of their offense. They run 4 reverses a game. A good stick there by the defender caused the fumble, and now Auburn has a chance to look for its first touchdown of the game.
Was Coach Bowden say, I got to have some trick plays when I go into every game. I got to have it as my pacifier. That time it slipped out of his mouth. 4:22. Berger knocked free. Sanders goes for the interception in the end zone. What a great athlete he is. Ball is deflected, and Deion Sanders stays right with it, and he's got the interception.
Boy, things happen so quickly back there when the ball gets tipped. It's amazing the kind of reaction Sanders has to make this play. That ball is moving pretty good. It gets tipped there first, and then he makes a nice catch. Tipped it a couple times himself before the interception.
Johnny Hadley deflected that ball, and Deion Sanders went and got it. There's a young man who's played his heart out for naught. Tracy Rocker. They're superb defensive linemen. Isn't that something?
That's incredible. Yeah, Jeff Berger had only thrown 3 interceptions all year coming into today's game.
Good job by the Florida State coaching staff. They were ready, weren't they? Oh, look at this daylight here for Carter. He runs out to the 42-yard line. Dexter Carter with a 22-yard run downstairs to John Dockery. Doc?
Fred, you talk about this being a big...
Brings the Seminoles up to the line of scrimmage. There's Edgar Bennett breaking free. Boy, Bobby Bowden knew what he was doing when he sent him in the game. And happy birthday to Coach Bowden, too. He's 58 years old tomorrow. He's been 12 years at Florida State University. He took a program that was down and out, and he's turned it into a winner. This will make him 98, 36, and 3. He's got a son who's on Bill Curry's staff at Alabama. You got to believe that son will be talking to Dad the week of the Alabama-Auburn game. Hey, Pops, what do we do? How'd you make it look so easy?
He'll say run some reverses, I'm sure. A fake punt.
Under control is Carter. Breaks free of a tackle, and he's got another first down, and the clock continues to run. So speaking of Alabama, we'll see the Crimson Tide in South Bend, Indiana. This was Humphrey exploding against Penn State. This was Alabama's second game of the season. And Humphrey set sail on a long touchdown run. For the Irish, it'll be Tim Brown, who's coming off another big game today in that comeback victory over Boston College, and you will see them next Saturday at 2:30 Eastern Time from South Bend. It'll be Alabama and Notre Dame. You think about that game, and you recall what Coach Parsegian did in that Sugar Bowl as Dexter Carter breaks up the middle, and Andre Bruce finally tackles him, but not before he got to the 25-yard line. Another 22 yards, and they are just shredding Auburn right now.
This defense of Auburn is tired. They've been out on the field an awful long time today. But again, we talked about the depth of Florida State. We've seen Sammy Smith, 220 pounds. Then Dexter Carter, only 160 pounds. And then, of course, Edgar Bennett, the freshman. I tell you, they've got a lot of people who can carry the load for the Seminoles.
Got to think pretty highly of those Miami Hurricanes and that comeback now against this bunch, don't you?
Oh, absolutely.
fake it this time. Got back to the line of scrimmage with that dive. Dexter Carter bringing the seconds off the clock. Florida State's going to win here this afternoon. We're going to have time for a big scoring update from Jim Nantz, too. Jim will tell you all about Jamel Holloway and Oklahoma's battle against Oklahoma State here this afternoon. There's your alma mater in the third quarter.
I didn't catch the score, though.
They're up ahead of the Cardinal. Cardinal welcome back Brad Muster.
He's a very going to be a great pro, Brad Muster. Been injured most of this year.
Edgar Bennett. Well, with time running out, we have an opportunity to remind you of what's coming up tonight on saluting their fans who are still in the end zone. Big afternoon for Coach Bowden. I'm sure that John Dockery will be down there to get a few words with him. He's a high-class man.
Well, this Florida State team is definitely for real. They'll be playing on January 1st somewhere.
This is Auburn's worst defeat since '82 when Nebraska hammered them 41-7. And for Bobby Bowden, one of his biggest. 34-6. Let's go down to John Dockery, who's down there with the coaches. Doc.
I'm with both coaches. You see them here in the middle of the field, Pat Dye and Bowden, congratulating one another. First time that Bobby's won here at Auburn, and you can see they're in conversation. A gracious gesture by Pat Dye after a tough afternoon. To Coach Bobby Bowden. Bobby, let me just ask you. Bobby, you've waited a long time to win one here at Auburn.
Oh, yeah, pretty long, all my life. That is a long time, isn't it?
What kind of things are going through your mind right now?
Well, I'm happy to win it. It's been a long time since we won a big game on the road. I was beginning to wonder if we ever were. But our kids played great. Auburn didn't play as good as they normally play.
What did you find out about your football team today?
Well, I found like they're pretty good.
Did you play with anybody?
Well, it looks like that. They're surprising me. They're playing a lot better than I thought. We hadn't had any success here in Auburn, and I was surprised we were able to come in here and whoop them here.
Well, congratulations and happy birthday. Now back up to you, Brent.
All right. John, thank you very much. Yeah, Bobby, I agree. That's a pretty good football team. We'll continue.
9-10 was actually the final. The Sooners won it, but they lost quarterback Jamel Holloway with a knee injury, and Coach Barry Switzer talked about it after the game.
We lost two great football players at Oklahoma today. Jamel Holloway will be operated on Monday for ligament damage, and Lydell Carr, our fullback, would be out for the season with ligament damage also. We lost two great players. We got some young talent. They'll have to take up the slack.
All right, now, of course, they're ranked #1 in the nation, the Sooners. They have a game next week against Missouri, then November 21st. This is the big one, 1 against 2, Oklahoma against Nebraska. This injury couldn't come at a worse time for Oklahoma.
Devastating, absolutely devastating for a football coach and a team. When you look at the statistics, you find that Holloway and Carr were #1 and 2 in rushing. And then the backup quarterback, Thompson, who has played quite a bit, but you got to understand that he has played when there wasn't any real pressure on him. And, of course, the intricacies of the wishbone are very difficult. You option one man and you finesse another one. The reads are tough. It won't be easy for Oklahoma with a freshman quarterback.
You talked at halftime about how the Sooners are better this year in the defensive secondary, and in the second half, boy, you called it, because 2 interceptions were returned for touchdowns by Oklahoma. That really saved the day, as at one point it was only 16-10, but 2 late touchdowns by
Blocky will kick it off and deep for the Clemson Tigers. Number 21, Terry Allen, and number 33, Joe Henderson. And it's a squibber that Allen takes and goes out of bounds, and the official marks him out at the 8-yard line. Did he touch it before he went out of bounds? And I believe that, yes, he did. Let's see. There is a penalty and a procedure call against Maryland on the kickoff, so we'll have to walk back with it, Roman, tee it up, and go again.
That might be the best way, Chuck, of keeping Clemson from returning a kickoff, because Joe Henderson ranks number 2 in the country, averaging 30.1 tenths a yard per kickoff that he returns.
Take a look at the special teams there. You see that Clemson has performed well there all season, Roman, second in the NCAA in punt returns. And David Treadwell, we'll develop that story a little bit later on in this contest. If you got to have a guy kicking for you in the final seconds of a game, I can't think of anyone in the country I'd rather have than Mr. Treadwell. Blocky will now tee it up at the 30 after the penalty is assessed. And Clemson fans will get a chance to get all riled up one more time. That is Terry Allen. Got a couple of blocks and springs it to the outside. He's on his way. Terry Allen, he is gone down the sidelines. Terry Allen all the way for a touchdown. There is a flag on the play, so hold everything. Clemson fans are celebrating. They do not see the flag at this point, but I believe they're going to bring it back. The kickoff return was good for 90 yards, but here's the call. Well, that hurts, Roman. If you're Terry Allen and you're out of breath, you think you've got 6, and now you got to walk back and find out that there's a clipping.
Well, for Maryland, it certainly takes a little pressure off of them. They kick off the first time, then they get a procedure penalty, have to come back, kicking it 5 yards longer. Clemson rated number 2, or Joe Henderson rated number 2, and they kick it to Terry Allen, and what does he do? Return it for a touchdown.
There you see Danny Ford trying to get an